You are watching this because you are exhausted. Exhausted by the endless cycle of chasing, adapting, and bleeding out your energy for people who barely notice. You think the answer is to pull away. It isn't. The real solution is total, unapologetic self-consumption. Society tells you that self-love is gentle, a warm bath, a positive affirmation, setting a polite boundary. They are lying to you. True self-addiction is a ruthless act of psychological warfare. It is the violent severing of your emotional umbilical cord to the world. Carl Jung unearthed a hidden mechanism in the human psyche, a forbidden psychological trigger that, once pulled, forces the world to shift around you. It makes you biologically immune to rejection. But to activate it, you have to commit an act of inner treason that terrifies the average human. You have to cross a line from which you can never return. Look at your relationships. Look at how you operate when you want someone to like you, respect you, or stay with you. You accommodate. You bend. You analyze their moods. You anticipate their needs before they even speak. You call this being a good person. You call it being highly empathetic. Jung had a different term for it. He called it participation mystique. It is a state of psychological fusion, a primitive state of mind where you do not know where you end and the other person begins. You are entangled. You believe that by pouring your psychic energy into someone else, you are securing your place in their life. You are not a martyr. You are a merchant. You are trading your life force for scraps of validation. And people can smell it. They do not respect it. They consume it. And then they despise you for offering it so cheaply. When you are not addicted to yourself, you become a psychological parasite. You attach your emotional baseline to an external host. If they text back, you are happy. If they withdraw, you spiral into panic. Your entire internal weather system is controlled by the whims of a person who is barely paying attention to you. This is a pathetic way to live. To shift reality, you must understand a brutal law of human dynamics. People are not attracted to generosity. They are attracted to gravity. Gravity requires mass. It requires density. When you are constantly reaching outward, trying to fix others, trying to please others, your energy is dispersed. You are a vapor. You have no weight. You can be blown away by a single critical comment. The people who control the world, the ones who command respect simply by walking into a room, do not reach outward. They have collapsed inward. They have developed an intense, heavy, undeniable psychological density. They are so deeply rooted in their own existence, so utterly consumed by their own internal processes, that they pull people into their orbit. You want to stop being ignored. Stop projecting your energy outward. You must become fiercely, obsessively protective of your attention. Your attention is the currency of your soul. Every time you obsess over what someone else is thinking about you, you are handing them your wallet. Stop funding their ego. Imagine treating your own mind with the desperate obsession you usually reserve for a romantic interest who is pulling away. Imagine waking up and immediately checking in on your own psychological state instead of checking your phone for a message. Imagine analyzing your own dreams, your own fears, and your own ambitions with the forensic intensity you use to analyze someone else's mixed signals. When you direct that massive, terrifying beam of obsession back onto yourself, the host star ignites. People feel the shift instantly. They sense that you are no longer feeding on them. You are feeding on yourself. You become a self-sustaining psychological ecosystem. And paradoxically, the moment you stop needing them to survive, they become desperately curious about how you are surviving so well without them. But how do you build this massive psychological density? You cannot build it using the sanitized, acceptable version of yourself. You cannot build it with the fake smile and the perfect resume. Gravity requires heavy materials. You have to use the parts of yourself that you have locked in the basement. To become addicted to yourself, you cannot just love the light. Everyone loves their light. Everyone loves the parts of themselves that are charming, successful, and kind. That is easy. But the light has no weight. Jung taught that the true power of the human psyche is buried in the shadow. The shadow is everything you refuse to acknowledge about yourself. Your selfishness, your capacity for manipulation, your suppressed rage, your ugly animalistic greed, your perverse desires. From childhood you were taught to amputate these parts, to hide them, to push them down so that society would accept you. But Jung discovered a terrifying secret. When you cut off your shadow, you do not destroy it. You just give it autonomy. It operates behind your back, driving your self-sabotage, fueling your anxiety, and making you project your inner demons onto other people. To become untouchable, you must do what Jung did. You must face the monster and invite it to dinner. In 1913, Jung went through a period of intense psychological fragmentation. He was hearing voices. He was seeing visions of apocalyptic blood. Most men would have checked themselves into an asylum. Jung did the opposite. He locked the door of his study, sat at his desk, and initiated a direct, conscious conversation with his own madness. He wrote it all down. This became his legendary, deeply guarded red book. He met figures in his mind. He spoke to them. He analyzed them. He didn't run from his darkness. He became utterly fascinated by it. This is the core of becoming addicted to yourself. Fascination. You must develop a clinical, obsessive fascination with your own ugliest traits. When you feel intense jealousy because a peer succeeded, do not suppress it. Do not tell yourself, "I am a good person. I shouldn't feel this way." That is weakness. Instead, trap the jealousy. Pin it to the wall of your mind under a microscope. Look at it. Ask it where it comes from. Trace it back to its root. When you feel the urge to manipulate a situation, watch yourself do it. Study the mechanics of your own deceit. This sounds perverse. It is. It is psychological alchemy. Robert A. Johnson, a renowned Jungian analyst, noted that the shadow contains pure unrefined gold. Your rawest power, your deepest creativity, and your most unshakable boundaries are trapped inside the beast you are trying to hide. When you stop running from your shadow and start studying it, you take its power. You realize that your capacity for cruelty is exactly what allows you to set a boundary that cannot be crossed. Your selfishness is exactly what protects your time. Your arrogance is the shield that deflects the unfair judgments of the crowd. When you integrate the shadow, you become whole. And a whole human being is a terrifying thing to manipulate. Think about it. How do manipulative people control you? They use shame. They threaten to expose a flaw. They imply that you are selfish or crazy or bad. But what happens if you already know you are capable of being bad? What happens if you have already shaken hands with your own inner psychopath? You become immune to emotional blackmail. Someone says, "You are being selfish." You look at them completely unbothered and reply, "I know." The game ends. Their weapon shatters against your psychological density. You cannot shame a person who has already explored the darkest corners of their own soul and decided to own them. You stop needing the world to validate you as a good person because you have accepted that you are a complex, dangerous, fully realized entity. You are no longer performing for the audience. You are watching your own movie, completely enthralled by the plot. But once you stop running from the monster, what do you feed it? You feed it the exact energy you have been wasting on the external world. We return to the concept of libido. Not in the Freudian sexual sense, but in the Jungian sense, psychic energy, the life force that animates your desires, your focus, and your will. Right now, your libido is scattered. It is hooked into a dozen different external objects. It is hooked into the job you hate, the ex who left you, the friends who drain you, and the societal expectations you are failing to meet. You are bleeding out from 1,000 tiny cuts. Jung outlined a process necessary for profound psychological rebirth. He called it libido retraction. You must systematically hunt down every external thing that is holding your psychic energy and violently pull the hook out. You must reel that energy back into your own chest. This is not a passive act of withdrawing. This is an active, aggressive reclamation of your property. When someone insults you, and you spend 3 days obsessing over what they said, they have stolen your libido. They are living rent-free in your mind, burning your fuel to power their memory. Retraction means you notice the obsession, and you forcefully snap the tether. You redirect that exact amount of mental energy toward a personal obsession. You take the rage they caused you, and you use it to lift heavier in the gym. You take the anxiety they gave you, and you use it to relentlessly execute a business strategy. You become an alchemical furnace. In alchemy, the base metals are not transformed by exposing them to the open air. They are sealed inside a vessel, an athena, and subjected to intense concentrated heat. Your mind is the vessel. You must seal it. Stop leaking your plans to people who secretly want you to fail. Stop complaining about your miseries to people who are entertained by your tragedy. Stop seeking advice from people whose lives are a disaster. Close the valves. When you stop venting, when you stop seeking external comfort, the internal pressure builds. The psychic heat rises. This heat is uncomfortable. It will feel like anxiety. It will feel like isolation. You will have a desperate urge to reach out, to text someone, to numb the tension with cheap dopamine. Do not open the valve. Let it burn. This heat is exactly what melts down your weak, fragmented ego and forges a solid, unshakable self. As you pull your libido back from the world, a strange phenomenon occurs. You become incredibly sharp. Your memory improves. Your physical energy spikes because for the first time in your life, you are operating on 100% of your own battery power instead of running cables to every emotional vampire in your zip code. You wake up, and your first thought is not about who hasn't messaged you. Your first thought is a ruthless calculation of how you will advance your own psychological and material empire today. You start to view external events as mere data. A project fails data. A relationship ends data. The economy shifts data. You process the data. You adapt the strategy and you keep moving. You are no longer devastated by the world because you are no longer entangled with it. You are a sovereign state. And this is when the shift happens. This is the paradox of Carl Jung's individuation process. When you finally stop chasing the world, when you finally become utterly ruthlessly addicted to the exploration and expansion of your own mind, the world turns around and starts chasing you. People are starved for authenticity. They are surrounded by hollow, desperate individuals begging for attention. When you step into a room entirely self-contained, radiating the heavy gravity of someone who has mastered their own shadows and hoarded their own psychic energy, you become a magnet. They will want to know your secret. They will want to be close to the heat of your furnace. They will offer you opportunities, affection, and loyalty, hoping to get a piece of whatever it is you have built inside yourself. But you will look at them entirely calm, and you will realize a profound truth. You don't need them anymore. You think it is easy to cut the cord. You think walking away from external validation is just a matter of deciding to be independent. It is a slaughter. It is the deliberate destruction of your own safety net. To truly understand the cost of this psychological sovereignty, you must look at the man who mapped this territory. Carl Jung did not discover the process of individuation by reading about it. He discovered it by setting his own life on fire. In the early 1900s, Jung was the golden boy of the psychoanalytic world. He was the chosen heir to Sigmund Freud. Freud, the undisputed king of the discipline, looked at Jung and saw his successor. Jung had everything a young, ambitious mind could crave: the absolute approval of his idol, a guaranteed legacy, prestige, and the safety of the psychoanalytic establishment. He was at the center of the universe. But there was a catch. Freud demanded absolute ideological obedience. To keep the crown, Jung had to suppress his own expanding theories. He had to amputate his own psychological discoveries to fit into Freud's rigid box. Jung faced the ultimate human dilemma. The same dilemma you face every single day. Do you choose the warmth of the herd and the approval of the father figure? Or do you choose the terrifying, freezing reality of your own mind? In 1913, Jung made the cut. He published his dissenting ideas. He shattered the relationship. The fallout was apocalyptic for him. Freud excommunicated him. His colleagues turned their backs. The establishment labeled him a mystic and a traitor. Jung was entirely, brutally isolated. He lost his professional world, his friends, and his mentor in one violently swift stroke. It broke him. He fell into a state of profound disorientation. He described it as a state of inner uncertainty, a complete collapse of his external reality. But this collapse was exactly the required catalyst. Because he had no one left to look up to, he was forced to look down into himself. This was the period where he retreated to his study, opened the Red Book, and engaged in direct, unfiltered dialogue with his own unconscious. By severing his deepest attachment to external validation, he forced his psychic energy to collapse inward. He stopped being Freud's disciple and became Jung. You have a Freud in your life right now. It might be a person, a toxic partner you are terrified to lose, a friend group that constantly belittles your ambition but provides you with weekend entertainment, a career path you hate but keeps your parents proud, a societal expectation that dictates how you should behave, what you should believe, and who you should be. You are clinging to it because it provides the illusion of structure. You must take the knife and cut it. You must intentionally trigger your own social or emotional exile. It will feel like psychological death. Your nervous system will scream at you to go back, to apologize, to conform, to beg for the chains to be put back on your wrists. Let it scream. The pain of that severance is the feeling of your psychic energy returning to its rightful owner. When you deliberately destroy the external structures that are feeding your ego starves. And when the ego starves, the true self finally has room to breathe. You stop asking, what do they want from me? You begin asking, what do I demand of myself? Becoming addicted to yourself is not a metaphor. It is a literal hijacking of your neurochemistry. Right now, your brain is a cheap slot machine. You pull the lever every time you post a photo, send a text, or walk into a room. You are hoping for the flashing lights, a compliment, a like, a look of approval, a message saying, I miss you. You are day trading your life force for pennies. You are allocating your most valuable asset, your focused predatory attention, into investments that yield zero permanent return. When you begin the Jungian process of libido retraction, you do not destroy your desire for dopamine. You root it. You take the exact same obsessive craving machinery that you use to chase other people, and you point it entirely at the optimization of your own existence. You become a psychological insider trader. You hoard your best assets and short the external noise. You realize that every second spent analyzing a stranger's opinion of you is a catastrophic misallocation of your psychic capital. How does this look in real time? You wake up. Instead of immediately checking a screen to see who has perceived you today, you check your own internal metrics. What is the baseline? What is the objective? You go to the gym, but not to build a body that someone else will desire. You train to witness the violent, mechanical perfection of your own discipline. You read not to sound intelligent at a dinner party, but to arm your mind with weapons no one can ever take from you. You build your business, your art, or your skill with a cold, terrifying intensity. You begin to derive visceral, addictive pleasure from your own evolution. When you successfully ignore a provocation that would have ruined your entire week a year ago, you feel a hit of dopamine. When you sit alone in a room on a Friday night working on your master plan, while everyone else is out numbing their mediocrity with alcohol and cheap socialization, you feel a deep, intoxicating surge of superiority. It is a controlled, highly functional narcissism. You fall in love with your own process. You become fascinated by your own resilience. You study your own failures not with shame, but with the cold calculation of an engineer identifying a structural flaw. I reacted emotionally there. The structural integrity failed. I will reinforce that neural pathway. It will never happen again. This is the ultimate high. The realization that you are the architect, the material and the masterpiece. People will look at you and mistake this obsession for arrogance. They will call you self-centered. They will say, "You have changed." Let them talk. The opinions of the stagnant are irrelevant to the rapidly evolving. They are angry because you have closed the bank. You are no longer handing out free loans of your energy to subsidize their lack of purpose. You have taken your capital and invested it entirely into the monopoly of your own mind, and the returns are exponential. There is a final dark layer to this addiction, a mechanism so deeply hidden in the human psyche that when you uncover it, it shatters the way you view every relationship you have ever had. Jung identified that we all possess an inner, masculine or feminine counterpart. The anima in men, the animos in women. It is the unconscious representation of your unlived potential. But because you are terrified of this immense internal power, you refuse to embody it. Instead, you project it outward. You scan the crowd. You find someone who exhibits a fraction of those traits, and you fall desperately obsessively in love with them. Or you find an idol, a mentor, a leader, and you worship them. You are not actually in love with them. You are in love with the unactualized parts of your own soul that you have pasted onto their face. You are attracted to her wild, unapologetic freedom because you have caged yourself in rules. You are obsessed with his dark, imposing confidence because you are crippled by self-doubt. You worship that entrepreneur's relentless focus because you are drowning in distraction. You use them as a surrogate for your own greatness. You try to possess them so that you can possess those traits by proxy. This is why relationships fail. This is why idols disappoint you. Eventually, the human being underneath the projection makes a mistake. The mask slips. They show weakness. They act selfishly and your illusion shatters. You become bitter. You feel betrayed. They did not betray you. You burdened a flawed mortal with the weight of your own undeveloped godhood. To become truly mentally untouchable, you must execute the most ruthless maneuver in Jungian psychology. You must rip the projection off their face and swallow it whole. You must consume the idol. When you feel that magnetic, desperate pull towards someone because of a specific trait they possess, stop. Do not chase them. Do not try to win them over. Isolate the trait. What is it? Is it their ruthlessness? Is it their charm? Is it their unshakable calm under pressure? Identify it. Then brutally force yourself to cultivate that exact trait within your own personality. If you want their discipline, do not date them to feel disciplined by association. Become the most disciplined entity in your zip code. If you are captivated by their mysterious, quiet power, stop talking, shut your mouth, and become the mystery. You stop seeking the missing pieces of your puzzle in the pockets of other people. You manufacture the pieces yourself. This is the process of integration. You become the Ouroboros, the serpent eating its own tail, a completely self-contained, self-generating engine of reality. When you achieve this, your relationships fundamentally change. You no longer enter a room looking for someone to complete you. You enter the room already complete. You do not need anything from anyone. You engage with people purely by choice, not by necessity. And because you need nothing, you have all the leverage. You become a psychological black hole. Your density is so absolute that light cannot escape you. People will be inexplicably drawn to you. They will try to project their unlived potential onto you. They will see you as the savior, the rebel, the stoic, the master. You will watch them do it. You will recognize the mechanics, and you will remain entirely unfazed, because you know the truth. You are not their savior. You are simply a mirror, reflecting the heavy, terrifying reality of a human being who has stopped outsourcing their existence and finally taken the throne of their own mind. The moment you become addicted to yourself, reality warps. It is not magic. It is the mechanics of human perception. When you remove your attention from the world suddenly starves for your attention. The people who ignored you will start watching your moves. The systems that rejected you will try to recruit you. The individuals who used you will suddenly find themselves intimidated by your silence. They will sense the shift. They will feel the withdrawal of your participation. They will realize with a sudden sinking dread that they no longer have any collateral to hold against you. You do not care if they leave. You do not care if they stay. You are too busy building the empire in your head to care about the politics of the peasants. You have traded the exhausting, hollow pursuit of being liked for the cold, unshakable reality of being feared, respected, and entirely free. You have survived the therapeutic darkness. You have faced the monster, consumed the projection, and emerged as the architect. But as you stand in the center of your newly forged isolation, a question will rise from the depths of your integrated shadow. If you are now capable of observing the entire world as a psychological game, if you can read their projections, anticipate their betrayals, and manipulate the gravity of any room, what happens when you realize that the most dangerous opponent you will ever face is the version of yourself you haven't met yet? If this opened your eyes, understand this is only what I can show publicly. There are videos I cannot upload for everyone. There are aspects of dark psychology that I simply cannot discuss publicly on YouTube without being censored or demonetized. The algorithm suppresses the most powerful information. Those exist behind the join button. If you're still here, you're not like the others. Subscribe if you haven't. But if you want what's hidden, click the join button and step into the architect level. You will unlock exclusive, uncensored videos that dive into the deepest parts of the human psyche. Most won't. That's the point.